Hello you beautiful Aunt Bessies and welcome back to Couch Potatoes. Today we're going to talk about Ubisoft and more recently Assassin's Creed Mirage. This conversation has been a hard one to dissect. It's a really complicated time for Ubisoft and it definitely shows. Most people would agree that Ubisoft is having a bit of an identity crisis, but what does this mean? Well, Ubisoft have been around since 1986, and in 1995 their game Rayman was a massive hit, especially on the PlayStation. In 1996, Ubisoft purchased Gameloft and Red Storm Entertainment. This was done with public funding, which proved very successful for them. This also gave them a license for Tom Clancy. In March 2001, Gore's Technology Group sold the Learning Company's entertainment division, which gave them the Prince of Persia series. These three major IPs was the start of their success. And now, with them having 3 known franchises under their belt, they had some money to throw at them. Tom Clancy gained a number of games like Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell and Rainbow Six. And later, the rest of their iconic IPs would be developed with the likes of The Crew, Driver, Far Cry, Rabbids, Watch Dogs, just to name a few relevant and popular ones. So let's start with Tom Clancy. Ghost Recon was originally a tactical shooter commanding a squad through different battlefield scenarios. Rainbow Six was always a realistic first-person shooter, and with the likes of Vegas, it was honestly a Call of Duty competitor. I very fondly remember playing and preferring it to Call of Duty. And then we have Splinter Cell. Granted, some of you probably wouldn't have even played this game, but in its time it was actually the strongest game under the Tom Clancy IP. Sam Fisher and his night vision goggles are still iconic and recognisable to this day. However, it seemed the Splinter Cell series decided to retire for a while after 2006, after 5 games in a 4-year span. Then it got brought back in 2010 with Splinter Cell Conviction. After that, the game had another 3-year break, with Blacklist changing the gameplay style completely. So 2013 is the last we've seen from Sam Fisher. However, Rainbow Six was making a comeback with Siege. I was really hoping for a Call of Duty competitor here, but they went a completely different route. The developers claimed that this game would run and be supported for 10 years, and hey, we're 2 years off this with the game doing just what they said. The game is still immensely popular, but it quite clearly is not a Call of Duty competitor, as I imagine you already know. This isn't a fast-paced reaction shooter, but more of a tactical peek behind the curtain pool of frustration. Finally, we have The Division, a squad-based, over-the-shoulder, third-person looter shooter that I adore, and I'm eagerly awaiting the recently announced number 3. This game was released in the boom of looter shooters and stood out as possibly the best in class. Co-op campaign kept the engagement for the first 15 to 20 hours, and then you had the Dark Zone, keeping the players at their controllers for many more to follow. The PvP and PvE had never felt so balanced. The risk to reward of working hard with your squad and sometimes other squads to take down the map's biggest tyrants, to then try and call an extraction to get them out while being third-partied by more AI and other man squads, was truly the edge of your seat action I've been craving. The loot recovered was always like a lottery drop, just one piece of gear that could change your whole build for the better. However, like all good things, they come to an end. And Ubisoft did it with the curse of nerfs and buffs. The buff of shotguns left this game cursed of extraction campers, as they were too weak to take on the hard work, but overpowered enough to wait and blast you away while waiting for your chopper to arrive. Prince of Persia was a game like no other from its time, with the developers really pushing the boundaries with a game that manipulated time and a rewind mechanic that carried the series into a trilogy. The original trilogy ended in 2006, and its spiritual successor would come in 2007 with the release of Assassin's Creed, and need I say more? However, Assassin's Creed fell under the trap of becoming annualized from 2009 up until 2015, with 2 games coming out in 2014. That break only lasted until 2017, when they restructured the franchise and went with a more open world RPG style for the game, whilst trying to keep some of the core mechanics. Even Origins was a great game, although it was a bit bare. However, 2018's Odyssey would quickly fix that with a game that rivaled The Witcher 3 in terms of side quests and game content. I've heard of people putting 150 plus hours into this game and still not having it finished. After this, we had a 2-year break and Valhalla hit the shelves in 2020. Far Cry, in all honesty, has been a pretty consistent and successful franchise, with its peak hitting around number 3 and number 5 in my opinion. However, Watch Dogs managed to get some criticisms in its latest game. Rayman Legends also gained a lot of critical acclaim. Ubisoft had a couple of one-hit wonders along the way, not big enough to warrant a sequel, but good enough to be enjoyable. Games like Immortals, Phoenix Rising, Scott Pilgrim Saves the World, Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and last but by all means not least, For Honor, a game that has a strong fan base to this day. And a very big swing from Ubisoft, and to some extent it landed. Despite all this fame and accolade, Ubisoft is in the midst of an identity crisis. and they can't quite stop their trip and they're stumbling down a slippery slope. So we've established they have IPs. They have the finances, the skill, the technology and the development teams to produce some of the best AAA titles. So why can't they stick the landing? In May 2022, they reiterated that they'll consider all acquisition offers. This statement to me, at the very least, smelled of desperation. In a time when Microsoft is throwing money around buying every publisher in an attempt to get back into the gaming monopoly race. And PlayStation was not shy of opening money at this time either, but Ubisoft almost sounded like they wanted out. And unfortunately, this has been after a series of annual statements showing declining profits in recent years. They've had some games come out that have not hit the mark, and some that to this day have been in development hell, such as Skull and Bones. Ubisoft has a few games still in the pipeline, such as Assassin's Creed Codename Red, their Japan set big open world edition, looking to take on the PlayStation hit Ghost of Tsushima. A new Star Wars bounty hunter game is on the horizon, and the trailer looks sweet, but this, like Avatar, had me concerned that they're going to have missing pieces to the puzzle. They have a new Prince of Persia game coming out in the early part of next year, a 2D Metroidvania that honestly I'll be playing day one, and I'm really looking forward to doing so. The game honestly looks amazing, and taking the franchise for a smaller test drive to see how the community reacts is a very wise choice from Ubisoft. Now we have great developers not working on a game that needs so much work, but they can put love and care and attention into it. This is what I would be looking to do with the company. If they're serious about selling up, why not focus on a few games and execute them flawlessly, as opposed to doing so many that the quality just isn't there. And this is exactly what I was hoping for in Assassin's Creed Mirage. The series had a 3-year break, arguably the longest the franchise has had, and they've announced that this game was designed to be shorter, set back in Baghdad, and reminiscent of the original Assassin's Creed games. My eyes honestly went wide and I was all in. However, this game was announced that it was originally designed to be a DLC for Valhalla. Regardless, maybe Ubisoft is doing what seems logical and focusing on a smaller game with more love, care and attention, and just a sprinkle of nostalgia. Well, I've been playing Assassin's Creed, and let me tell you, my nostalgic goggles lasted around 2 hours. The parkour and the climbing feels very clunky, is clumsy and is frustrating. Fighting has been dialed back with the RPG elements. No longer are we swapping out loot to become more powerful, but more free simple strength bars. And cosmetic changes are all you're really changing. Enemy levels have been removed and it's now just down to dodging and perfect parrying to fight your way out of situations. But again, Ubisoft misses the mark and none of it feels right. Missed timings are constant and again played with clunky gameplay. This is not what I was hoping for and I kind of feel cheated out playing. Stealth is a major welcome part back into the world of Assassin's Creed. Ubisoft has made some of the best stealth games in the industry, scouting enemies from far and then sneaking in shadows with a poke and run mentality. They've done this many of times, so why can I run like an elephant through an entire camp of guards just assassinating in plain sight without proper detection? And don't get me wrong, there are ties that the enemies are on point and a challenge is presented and the guards call for backup. They hear the commotion and react accordingly, but it's more miss than hit, and this is just so frustrating. I truly wanted to be balls deep into this game, screaming all the way, but instead I'm constantly taken out of the immersion with poor polish. And Ubisoft has some of the best talent working for them, so what's stopping them from producing gold? All the ingredients, great chefs, yet this was thrown on a plate, spat in and served with a fresh boot print from the waiter. To end on a positive though, this is not enough to stop me playing, but it's just enough for me not to recommend this game to someone else. The voice acting, storytelling and art design is breathtaking, and despite my frustration, I want to complete this. There is a pickpocketing mechanic in the game, and although again it can be clunky, it is extremely addictive, so kudos for this function. So, let's round this up. Dear Ubisoft, I love you, but we need to see other people. We've grown tiresome of each other and it's starting to show, so please stop overstretching and hone your craft. Release some tighter-nipped games with the love we have shared over the years and rebuild your confidence and reputation. Then, if you're still tired and want to hand over the responsibility, I'm sure you'll be snapped up in a heartbeat. It's not you, it's me. I'm lying, it's definitely you, but there's still good in you. Shine bright, Ubisoft. Thank you everybody for tuning in and listening to another load of bollocks. Until next time, thank you for watching, and we are Couch Potatoes.